I'm just going to read the beginning of a short story called This Is How I Saw It. I'm 20 minutes late to meet Tallulah at the Elixir, and I bet her $100 that I'll leave with a man to impregnate me, since Scott won't do it. So I'm run-walking down Guerrero Street in skinny jeans and heels when I witness the redhead's suicide. Alleged, the police officer with pushed-out buck teeth will insist later that night, spitting on me when he speaks, as I interrupt him to remind him, I was on the scene, he wasn't. I saw the woman step in front of the Pontiac. I saw the baby fly. Tallulah is texting me my whole walk there. Sven, at the bar, get your bony ass here. I'm making her wait out a reply. I'm taking these long, fast, catwalk-type steps and noting 5 sets of streetlights, 3 cafes, 2 tattoo parlors, a taqueria, a hair salon pet shop combo, a washeria, a joyeria, some version of a soubrette at every corner. And when I get to the intersection at 19th Street and the orange hand is flashing, I stop and wait, and I see the Pontiac, gunning it through the yellow light that's having its moment of darkening just as the redhead steps off the curb, like a plus-size robot in a tracksuit and running shoes. It turns out the baby was in a tracksuit, too. Tallulah has thick, curly, blue-black hair that she blows dry straight, which takes forever and usually makes her the one who is late. When I finally get to the Elixir, Tallulah's hunched over her second Manhattan, moving the maraschino cherry around the bottom of her glass with the little red plastic straw. My heart is ripping inside my shirt, and there's no way I can be chewing my gum any faster. I feel as if I've just escaped an attempt on my life, or the end of my life as I've lived it so far. Already the details have blurred. Was there somebody in the passenger seat? Did the driver use the brakes? Was I really the only witness? How did the cooks from the taqueria know exactly what to do? When I tell Tallulah the story, she sets down her cocktail and makes that squished up face that I've advised her never to make. Lip way up where her nose usually ends, eyebrows pushing her forehead into folds that look like penne, and she holds it there, stuck on whatever mind bomb has just exploded. Try not to look at me like I killed her. Tallulah rolls her eyes and stares down the ice in her glass. She looks like a turtle in her green blouse, bent over her drink. Remember, I was the one who called 911. I ball my gum up in a cocktail napkin and wince, thinking about the clover shape of the redhead's crushed skull and the slow way in which the steam coming off of her body floated up into the streetlight. How was it that the baby landed on the hood of a parked car? And what made the cooks spring into action as if it were something they'd trained for all their lives? One chasing the Pontiac, one on the ground with the redhead, stroking her white arm, whispering something into her body as he untied his apron and laid it over her face. What I don't tell Tallulah is that in the few seconds between the crash and the scream and all the worried people running into the street, I stood on the sidewalk, biting down on my lip and sweating under my eyes, resisting the impulse to pick up the baby and pretend it was mine. You still with me? I pinched Tallulah's upper arm. I'm listening. You're judging. She finally looks up. I'm allowed to judge. She's searching my face for decency. How else could I be your moral guide? Tallulah comes from a long line of Choctaw. Pretty much all her advice, little of which she follows, is delivered with an aura of ancient wisdom. She slurps up the last inch of whiskey in her glass. I just don't think you should have fled. You've said that 3 times. Is that all? I stand up and walk over to Sven, who's halfway through a Guinness and sitting upright on his bar stool. He has a body that could win an award. As I lean in and order a martini, I discover that he smells like an old sofa. But before I can pull all the way back, he smiles at me, so I smile, but I keep backing up. I can't do this, I tell Tallulah when I get back to safety. I knew it. She perks up and holds out her hand to collect her money. I stare into the blue-horned Indian headdress tattoo fanned out across her chest. He smells like Aunt Nan's couch. She makes another contorted expression and pushes her hand up further. 20s will do. The idea of sleeping with Sven is making me dizzy. From behind the bar, candles burning between bottles of liquor are pushing short beams of primary color into the room. I can't remember if the light was at the very end of its yellow, or in its first millisecond of red, or right inside its transition. I can't remember if it was the redhead who let out the scream, or if it was the baby, or if it was me. I can't focus on anything without holding my stomach. I think we should go. Did you say something to Sven? Because he's on his way over here with a martini. Excuse me, but I think you forgot something. Tallulah slides off her bar stool, lights a cigarette, and makes her way over to the pool table to show off her tongue stuck to the Rob Lowe lookalike with finger tattoos. The Elixir is one of the few bars in San Francisco where people still smoke. Smoke is swirling up around Tallulah's arm. 45 minutes later, she comes back with a fresh cigarette demanding our money. I tell Tallulah she never should have left Sven and me alone. I give her my fake "I hate you like a sister" look and tighten the backings on my gold hoop earrings. I buy us all another round of drinks and remind Tallulah I haven't lost yet. She turns to Sven and says, "How do you feel about urgent sex?" I've always regretted confessing to Tallulah that I want my baby to be born out of urgent sex, to be infused with a kind of animalistic desire. Then maybe it would have a chance. The first time Scott and I had sex, we barely made it inside the apartment. We did it in total darkness on the carpet on the entryway floor. We couldn't even be bothered with ripping off clothes. I can remember trying to slow things down just a little, but Scott was in control, which is what drew me to him in the first place. 7 years later, urgent sex is no longer on the menu. Now, if I put on lingerie, I end up taking it off myself. Scott guffaws when I tell him I've caught him watching TV out of the corner of his fucking blue eyes. He sends me white gardenias at the lab to call a truce. I tear off the petals, squeeze them between plates of green tinted glass, study their veins under the microscope, and consider the number of proteins that live in each single cell. If questioned by family or friends or even Tallulah, I would never admit this, but Scott's turning into a stiff. He no longer sleeps on sidewalks to get concert tickets or hunts down the latest microbrew or goes out of his way to play a practical joke. He's been getting too much attention wearing expensive shoes and suits and managing other people's money. He rushes from business trip to wine dinner to golf. He gels his hair, reads 4 papers on Sundays, and he's forever blowing off Forklift and Ted. For years now, I've wanted to burn down Somerset Freeling and airdrop Scott into a redwood forest and shake a newborn life in front of him, and then leave him alone with the baby for at least an hour.